Hey, what's up? This is Advent Calendar here. Outlier are a brand that we've looked at on this channel before, and they have a little bit of a different take on techwear to a lot of the things that I would normally cover. It's certainly more on the grey man side of things. It's clothing designed to blend in whilst also being very appropriate for urban environments. Things like comfort, utility, and quality are really the main points for them. And many of their products are very plain and understated. You take, for example, the Outlier Strong Dungarees. These things basically look, at least from a distance, like a regular pair of jeans, what with this rivet detailing and this little 5-pocket design that they've got going on. But actually, by not using denim and using this dungaree material instead, they've created something potentially a lot longer lasting, something that's probably gonna look nicer for a longer period of time. But their regular collection is not the point of this video. Instead, we're looking at the Experiments line, which in my opinion is where things get most interesting. This is where Outlier take that very high level of material knowledge and enthusiasm for those different performance materials and then apply them to more interesting and more experimental designs and cuts. So we're combining the durability and high quality of the regular stuff with an aesthetic which is closer to more traditional techwear gear, and for a lot of you guys, and certainly myself, that's going to be right up your street. So we're looking at two things in this video. We're going for the Workcloth Cargos and the Shelter from the Storm jacket, coming in at $295 and $750 respectively. This is certainly not cheap gear by any means, but as I say, material and high quality is something that's very important to Outlier, so I think those things are going to be what shines through in this clothing. Let's take a look at the Workcloth Cargos first. They're a slim fit with a little bit of a taper to them, not quite as aggressive as some of the other techwear cargos out there like the Nike Lab ACG cargos or the acronym P10s. They're a little bit wider at the ankle and I think a little bit narrower at the thigh as well, but that does mean that it creates a very nice silhouette and I think they look quite flattering on body. They follow the leg quite nicely, and even with my big boy thighs, I didn't find them too tight or uncomfortable at the top. I think sizing is pretty bang on for these. It's worth noting that these come in 1-inch size measurements. Normally with men's pants you have to pick in 2 inches, so I actually opted for a size 33 in these. Normally you have to pick between 32 and 34. So if you do struggle with getting things that are the right waist measurement, then Outlier is certainly a brand to check out because you can just narrow things down to within that inch and get something that's going to fit you a little bit nicer. I'm around 6'1", maybe 6'2" on a good day, and I find the length is pretty good as well. These seem to sit just at the top of where a low top shoe would fall. So they're not cropped at all, but they're also not going to stack on top of any shoes either. Luckily, they don't just have the shape to make them interesting. As these are cargo pants, there are of course cargo pockets which you'll find on the thigh. There is a light bit of military inspiration there. You can see that from the angle of their placement, the double pleats on the pockets themselves, but it's a more refined and it's a more subtle take on that. They are very close to the pant, for example. They don't stick out as much as a tactical military cargo pocket would. And that very square shape, particularly on the flaps, which are secured by poppers, I think just makes them look that little bit smarter as well than your average cargo pant. You'll also find flaps on the top front pockets as well, which is quite unusual to see. It does make them look quite interesting depending on what you're wearing on the top half. For something that comes up quite short or quite slim fitting, for example, you can really see those top pockets with the flaps and those cargo pockets as well. Or of course, if you're wearing something a little bit longer, then that's going to hide the flaps completely, so you just see the cargo pockets. There is that little bit of a kind of awkward interim where if you're wearing something that comes at exactly the right length of the cargo pockets, you can kind of semi-see them, and that looks a little bit weird. But for most things, I'm sure that's not going to be much of an issue. It's impossible to talk about Outlier though without mentioning the materials and the overall quality of stuff like that. And this Workcloth material that they've used is certainly very different to the DWR treated nylon that you would see on a typical cargo pant. Not only does this give a more casual and less futuristic feel than a lot of the alternative cargo pants to these, but they're very supple, extremely comfortable to wear, whilst feeling durable as well. And in general, I have to say, looking close up at these, the quality is pretty evident in terms of things like the stitching, the overall feel and weight of the material of these, they're clearly a well-made pant designed to last. One thing on the fabric though which does differ compared to a DWR treated nylon pair, something like an ACG cargo pant for example, although these do come equipped with what they call a nanosphere treatment, which is designed to help repel against stains, dirt, liquid, this doesn't seem to be as effective as a DWR would be. I did give this a very brief test, just running it under the sink, and although yes, it did repel water, after a pretty short period, it did seem to start retaining water. However, this is something Outlier themselves say is really designed for resistance against coffee spills and other liquids, that kind of thing. So it's not really a outdoor in the pouring rain all day pant. That said, this material does dry extremely quickly. Outlier claim if you hang these out to dry, they will be totally dry in something like 10 minutes, which is pretty good compared to a lot of materials, and certainly something like a cotton twill, which you'll often find with a cheaper pair of cargo pants, which are maybe designed to imitate a conventional techwear pant. Something like that is going to retain a lot of water and it's going to stay wet for a very long time. And as I mentioned earlier, the material is extremely comfortable to move around in, more so than those water-resistant techwear pants. So that's where the choice comes really, whether you go for that designed for all conditions, I'm going to spend all day outside in the rain type cargo pant, or that everyday comfort, nice and easy to wear, nice and supple, something like this, which is still going to do okay in the rain because it can repel some liquids and it's going to dry off fairly quickly. I'd also say it's not something to get too worked up about because the top half of jacket is where most rain is going to fall when you're on the outside, so that's the thing to focus on in terms of water resistance rather than pants. So although these pants are undoubtedly expensive and they don't have that same futuristic edge that some other cargo pants do have around this kind of price, the upside of that is that the more casual look makes them a lot easier to wear than those other things. And they're clearly well made and durable enough to be worn day in, day out, and to really become that go-to pair of cargo pants that look pretty good in most situations. And it's for that reason, I think, that over the last couple of weeks since I've had these, I found myself reaching for them quite a lot over pretty much every other pair. When you're investing this kind of money, you want something that you're going to feel comfortable putting on a lot of the time. And I think that the Outlier Workcloth Cargos tick a lot of boxes in that regard. So for that reason, I'm extremely happy with them. Let's move on to the Shelter from the Storm jacket. At first glance, this actually looks pretty simple. It lacks a lot of the pocket and zip detailing or unique design features that are quite common for jackets that I review and feature on this channel. Visually, that means that the focus is on the overall silhouette. Luckily, I think it comes out pretty good. It fits very true to size. This is a medium, which is pretty much what I would wear in all other jackets these days, and I think it fits pretty well, neither being too slim fit or too athletic, nor really having an oversized cut. And that plus the clean overall look, it's quite minimal, reminds me a bit of a beefed up Uniqlo Blocktech jacket. The neckline and the hood I think are a big part of that, and I think that's going to be a big part of this jacket's appeal for a lot of people. It comes up quite high, it's quite protective, and the hood as well is also really nice and enveloping. You can cinch this in to a pretty high degree so that it really does cover your face and just keep you nice and protected in this little cozy bubble. It's protection from the elements and anonymity without having to use a face mask. Something also that's interesting about this hood is something that I've struggled with some other things, namely the Nike Lab ACG Alpine jacket, is that when it's cinched in and it's all closed up around your face, this does actually move with your head. So if you look left and right, the hood will actually twist around with you. Something like an Alpine really doesn't do that. So if you've got it fully deployed, you've gone full Pingu Newt Newt mode, you pretty much have to turn your entire body to look in any direction other than straight forwards. This might seem like a pretty minor detail, but if you're out in the pouring rain, chances are you are going to want to look around in urban spaces, you know, like crossing the road, or if you're on a bike, like looking around you. So I think it's actually going to end up quite important. It's not just about the hood though, there are a couple of other features which are designed to get people excited. The main pockets, the ones on the front, they're secured not just with a little magnet, but they have this little double closure type thing with two flaps of material instead of one. That That means that the pockets stay closed better, particularly as there's only a magnet to secure rather than a zip. And it also means that when you put your hands in, either to get something out or just for warmth, it's going to keep the rest of the pocket fairly closed, which means that water isn't going to get in as much as having a pocket which you then have to unzip. It does make it a little bit harder and a little bit less comfortable to get your hands in and out, but that's going to be a necessary compromise if you're using this out in the rain a lot and you're making use of those pockets. You don't want them filling up with water. There are a few zips on here to improve articulation and ventilation. Similar to the Riot Division jacket last week, there is a double side zip on each side, so you can use that both for arm ventilation and to open up the sides of the jacket. It's good if you're standing up and sitting down a lot, you're riding a bike, that sort of thing. There's also a double zip on the main zip, so you can open it out from the front too. On the center at the back, there's a pretty hefty sized back pocket which is zipped up for nice storage. It's got quite a long little dangly bit of cord on it, so you can open and close this quite easily once you've got used to it whilst wearing the jacket. Of crucial importance is the ability to carry a Nintendo Switch, and the back pocket does a fine job of that with plenty of room to spare. On the cuffs, they use this unusual design which I haven't seen before. Instead of using Velcro or poppers or something like that, they have this little ratchet strap. The idea of that is so that it's very easy to adjust with one hand. It does work, it's very secure, and having it on a ratchet means that you have a bit of flexibility with exactly how tight or how loose the sleeves go, although I don't feel like this is necessarily any easier or any more effective than using Velcro, for example. That said, it does look cleaner than using Velcro because you don't have any excess material around the sleeves, so it keeps the jacket's sleek lines quite nicely. And it's always cool to have something that's a little bit technical or a bit interesting or a bit futuristic in the jacket, and these little ratchet straps achieve that whilst not being too gimmicky or really being a centralizing feature of the jacket. On the inside of this jacket, instead of the traditional zip pockets, you've instead got two massive what they call drop pockets. These are basically just big sections of material that, you guessed it, you can drop stuff in and pull it out again. That's good in terms of raw storage capacity. You can certainly keep very big things in these pockets, absolutely no problem. It's almost the opposite really to the Riot Division jacket from last week, having a small number of very large pockets as opposed to a very large number of kind of medium, not quite so big pockets. How good these pockets are really depend on your specific carry requirements. If you're carrying a smaller number of larger things, maybe a tablet and a glasses case, something like that, then these will do the job just fine. But if you're the kind of guy that needs 101 gadgets with them at all times, then you might find that you're putting too many things in one pocket. I tend not to carry too many things in jackets personally, so no problem for me. There's one other pocket though, but you probably haven't seen it because it's hidden. Up the top, kind of near the neckline, you'll notice there's this little extra flap of material which conceals part of the zip. If you undo that and you have a look underneath, there is a little secret zipped pocket in there. It's big enough for any smartphone, for example, so any gadgets that you need close to the heart, you need them with you at all times, then that's the exact right place to get one of those in. I think in general people feel much more comfortable putting something like a phone in a zipped pocket, so it's definitely a good inclusion having this here on the front, because you know from a security perspective, no one's really going to take that away from you. As well as being a pocket, this section gives a little bit of visual interest to the front of the jacket and breaks up that straight zip a little bit while staying quite classy, quite refined, but it also serves as a mechanism to fasten one half of the jacket to the other without needing to do up the zip. So just for casual wear, you're sticking it on for 5 minutes or something, you can just pop this up at the top rather than having to do the whole thing up. The flap of material that the pop is attached to is actually floating, so it's super easy to do this up with one hand. It's one of those little design features that it's clear that they've put a little bit of thought into, which makes it more effective than it would be ordinarily. So they've included quite a few small but thought through features on this jacket. The only thing I can really say would be missing that I would make use of would be something like a jacket sling, because personally if I'm going indoors and outdoors quite a lot, I do like to take off and put on jackets, but that might not be something that's crucial for everyone. I should talk a little bit about the material, of course. It's fairly soft for an outer shell compared to something like Gore-Tex, for example. It doesn't have the same crunch, but it does have a little bit more of a coarse texture on the outside than something like that, which has a very smooth finish. That pliability, that softness though, makes it quite a good jacket to wear while still feeling protective. And indeed, this does come with 10k millimeters of water resistance. So for most applications, that's going to do the job just fine. Like Gore-Tex as well, this is 3-layer construction, so you've got an inner, an outer, and a semi-permeable membrane in the middle of the two, making this breathable as well as water resistant. So it's not like a trash bag, you're not just going to start sweating in it as soon as you get a bit warm. It's going to allow that moisture to permeate and evaporate. And like the pants, while there is certainly comfort there and quite an easy to wear piece, it also feels quite durable and certainly of a high quality as well. It is a bit of a different feel to the other Gore-Tex alternatives, but I quite like it. I think it makes it quite wearable and quite comfy. Overall, the shelter from the store might not have that one crazy feature that you've never seen on a jacket before, or a really distinctive and out there design which is going to make people stop and stare at you in the street and talk about how #fashion and how #techwear you are. Frankly, that is going to put some people off because $750 is a lot, and it's in that ballpark of Nike Lab ACG, of Stone Island and Friends, and those pieces often are very distinctive or have very unique designs while still having the performance and, in theory, quality. But I still think this has understated good looks which are going to appeal to you if you're not that interested in flexing branding or badges or logos. And being an experiment from Outlier, this does still have a bit of visual flair in the form of that concealed pocket near the chest, the neckline, and the hood as well. And it's clear that everything on this jacket has been designed with genuine usability and flexibility in mind, and not glamorous but gimmicky features. So like the pants, and I'm sensing a bit of a pattern with Outlier here, for more casual or day-to-day wear, this is a jacket that I would be quick to grab over quite a lot of others, and I feel pretty confident that it will last a long time as well. So 2 pieces there which I feel pretty positively about and that I'm going to enjoy wearing. Something to remember with the Outlier stuff as well, specifically the experiments, is they do tend to go in and out of stock because they're made in quite small quantities. So if something you want isn't in your size, then keep an eye on it, maybe send them a message or something. I think they're normally quite responsive for stuff like that, and you never know, in future you might be able to get it again. But let me know what you guys think about these. Do you think Outlier with their experiments line and with this stuff specifically have struck a good balance between that casual, very wearable day-to-day stuff and some of the futuristic and urban ideals of that classic techwear style? And is this stuff which, given the choice, you would pick up over some of those other techwear brands that are out there? Either way, let me know down there in the comments, because I'm always interested to read what you guys think about this stuff. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We will be back very soon with another video. Shout out to Forrest Kim. I agree actually, without the pockets on, it definitely has a bit of Deus Ex vibe, so I'm definitely in favour of that. And shout out to Control-Alt-Delete. Yes, I did notice those, they look super cool. Definitely something that I'm interested in picking up, so maybe I'll have to get either those or something kind of similar in future. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to check out some more, there's going to be links up there, of course, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so, because there's going to be a little button on the side, and more techwear stuff coming out very soon. We're going into 2019, so you can hit that button, make sure that you know as soon as that stuff goes up.